She hadn't eaten in days. She couldn't stand. She was crawling through the desert, face beaten beyond recognition, left there to die by the one man who was supposed to love her. And then a stranger found her. A broken man who had nothing left to give, except everything. What happens next will remind you why some people come into your life not by accident, but by design. This channel is home to stories of the Wild West, where love is hard won, mothers fight like warriors, and strangers become family. Stories about the kind of human heart that refuses to quit. The people who save us are often the ones who needed saving too, and that's exactly what makes the love real. If this story moved something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Like it. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop your city in the comments. We want to know how far Clara's story travels, and subscribe so you never miss the next one.
Sam Bridger spotted the buzzards first. 3 big birds circling low over a dry creek bed about a quarter-mile to the east. That meant something was dead or dying. And in the dead of a Texas July, dying never took too long. He nudged his horse in their direction. At 40 years old, with 12 of them spent running this ranch all by himself, Sam had learned to listen when his gut spoke. And right now it was telling him to ride faster. The buzzards scattered as he drew near. Then he saw a shape huddled in the dirt, and a cold knot formed in his stomach. It was a woman, face down and completely still. He swung down from his horse before the animal even came to a full stop. "Ma'am?" No answer. He knelt down beside her, turning her over as gently as he knew how. Good Lord, her face was a terrible mess of purple and black, so swollen, could not even guess what she might look like underneath it all. Dried blood was caked in her hair, on her lips, and at the corners of her eyes. Somebody had taken their time beating this woman near to death. But then he saw the slightest movement in her chest, a shallow little breath that told him she was still in the fight. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" Her eyes fluttered open. Well, one of them did. The other was swollen completely shut. But that single eye, gray-green like a stormy sky, locked onto his face with pure animal terror. She tried to scramble away from him. "Easy now." Sam held up his open hands. "I ain't gonna hurt you none." She kept trying to push herself backward. Her arms finally buckled. She fell back into the dust, sobbing without making a sound. "Listen here." Sam softened his voice the same way he did with a spooked horse. "My name is Sam Bridger. I've got a ranch about 4 miles from here. I'm fixin' to take you there. Give you some water and get you in the shade, that is all. You understand me?" She just stared at him. "I ain't him," Sam said, his voice low and steady. "Whoever did this to you, I ain't him." For a second, something in her expression changed. It was not trust, just a weariness so deep she had no fight left in her. Sam gathered her up in his arms. She weighed next to nothing. He could feel the sharp edges of her bones right through her torn dress. They had starved her before they hurt her. He settled her in his lap on the horse and rode for home as fast as he dared. She woke with a scream. Sam almost dropped the whole bucket of water. He set it down carefully and walked toward the bed, keeping his movements slow and his hands where she could see them. "You're safe, Clara. You are safe." She had told him her name the day before. Clara May Hollister. She had said it like she was certain she would die before he could get back with the doctor. "Where?" Her voice was a dry crackle. "Where am I?" "You're at my ranch. You've been out cold for almost 2 days." He poured some water into a tin cup. "Take small sips now. Do not gulp it down." She took the cup, her hands shaking something awful. She drank it like she had not seen water in a year. And she probably had not. "The doctor came by," Sam told her. "He said you have 3 broken ribs, A shoulder that is all banged up and enough bruises to paint a barn with, but you are going to live." Clara put the cup down. Her good eye scanned the small room, taking in the rough-hewn walls, the plain furniture, and the rifle leaning by the door. "Why?" she asked. "Why what? Why did you bring me here? Why did not you just leave me out there?" Sam pulled a chair over and sat down. "Is that what you wanted? To die out there?" "Maybe." "Nah." He shook his head. "You were crawling when I found you, still putting up a fight. Do not you tell me you wanted to die when your own body was working that hard to stay alive." Clara looked away from him. Her jaw set hard. "You do not know the first thing about me. I know somebody beat you half to death and left you for dead in the desert. I know you are scared enough to jump every time I move a little too quick." Sam leaned forward just a bit. "And I know that whoever did this to you is probably out there looking for you right now." Her entire body went stiff as a board. "So why do not you tell me what I'm up against here?" There was just silence. "Clara, my husband." The words came out flat and dead. "His name is Thomas Hollister." Sam felt his own jaw tighten. "Your husband did this to you. He has done worse." She clutched the blanket to her chin like it was a shield. "Thomas owns textile mills back east. He is rich and he is powerful. He has got politicians, judges, and lawmen right in his pocket." She finally looked Sam straight in the eye. "He owns people, Mr. Bridger, and he believes he owns me. Nobody owns you. You tell him that." A harsh, bitter little laugh escaped her chapped lips. "I tried to leave him. I made it all the way to Colorado before his men found me. There were 3 of them. They had their fun, then they just dumped me out there to die slow." Sam shot up from his chair so fast it screeched on the floorboards. Clara flinched hard. He froze, forcing himself to take a deep breath. "I am not mad at you," he said, speaking slowly and clearly. "I am mad at the bastard who did this to you. There is a big difference." She watched his face for a long, quiet moment. "Most men do not see one. Well, I ain't most men." Another stretch of silence passed. Then Clara spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "He will come here. Thomas does not let go of things that he thinks are his. When he finds out I am still alive, he will come, and he will kill anybody who has helped me. Let him try. You do not understand." "Oh, I understand just fine." Sam walked over to the window and looked out at the summer sun beating down on his land. "I have faced down raiding parties, outlaws, and a grizzly bear that just about tore my arm clean off. Some rich fella from back east does not scare me." "He should." Sam turned back to face her. "Maybe so. But you are on my land now, Clara. And on my land, I get to decide what I'm scared of." Clara opened her mouth like she was going to argue, but then she shut it. The hard look on her face cracked just a little bit, just enough to let him see the bone-deep exhaustion hiding under all that fear. "Why are you doing this?" she whispered. "For real?" Sam thought about his little girl. He thought about the fever that took her. He thought about the 3 long days he spent watching her fade away, sitting helpless at her bedside. "Because I know what it feels like to need help," he said. "And I know what it feels like when nobody comes." Tears welled up in Clara's eyes. She turned her face away quick, as if crying was some kind of weakness. "Thomas always said tears make you weak." "Thomas was a damn fool." Sam offered her his handkerchief. "You cry if you feel the need to. There is nobody here who's going to hold it against you." She took the cloth, pressed it to her face, and for the first time in more years than she could count, Clara May Hollister just let herself weep. A week went by. Clara started to heal up faster than Sam ever thought she would. Doc Walsh said it was pure spite that was keeping her alive. Clara did not disagree. I refused to give Thomas the satisfaction, she told Sam one morning. She had managed to walk all the way to the porch by herself, 10 whole steps without any help. It was a small victory, but she was happy to have it. He wanted me to crawl off into a hole somewhere and die. So I decided I am going to live just to spite him. Sam looked up from the leather bridle he was fixing. Spite is as good a reason as any. Better than most, I reckon. Clara slowly lowered herself into the rocking chair, wincing when her ribs complained. Can I ask you something? You can always ask. The doctor mentioned that you had a wife and a daughter. Sam's hands stopped moving on the leather. I am sorry, Clara said right away. That is none of my business. Sarah left 4 years ago. Sam's voice was flat, without any emotion. Right after Emma passed. Emma was your daughter. She was 6. He kept his gaze fixed on the bridle in his hands. Diphtheria came through that winter. It took her in 3 days. Clara sat quietly for a minute. I'm so sorry. Do not be. It was a long time ago. That does not mean it stopped hurting. Sam finally raised his eyes to meet hers. No, he said. It sure don't. They sat there in a comfortable quiet, just two folks who understood that some wounds never really heal all the way. I was a nurse, Clara said after a while, before I met Thomas, back when I thought I had my whole life figured out. What happened? I met a handsome man who said all the perfect things. Her mouth twisted into a sad smile. It is funny how the devil always knows just what you are longing to hear. How long were you all married? 6 years. She held up one hand, counting off on her fingers. The first year I made excuses for him. He was under a lot of stress. He did not really mean it. The second year, I learned to keep my mouth shut. The third year, I learned how to be invisible. The fourth, fifth, and 6th years, she dropped her hand into her lap. I do not remember much of them. I was just trying to survive. What finally made you run? He tried to kill me. She said it so plainly, like she was talking about the weather. Last month I said something he did not like. I still do not know what it was. He just snapped. He beat me until I could not get up. And then he put his hands around my throat. Sam's knuckles turned white as he gripped the bridle. I saw it in his eyes, Clara went on. He was going to finish me right there in our own bedroom. The only reason I'm alive is because the maid walked in. She gave another one of those bitter laughs. I owe my life to a girl who makes $2 a week. So you ran. I ran, did not pack a bag, did not have a plan. I just got on the first train I saw that was headed west. She looked out toward the distant mountains. I honestly thought I could just disappear. Start over somewhere new, build a whole new life. She shook her head. It was stupid. It ain't stupid to want something better for yourself. It is when you are married to a man like Thomas Hollister. Clara met his gaze. He will find me, Sam. He always does. And when he comes, Sam said, his voice steady as a rock, when he comes, I will be ready. You keep saying that? Because I keep meaning it. Clara looked at his face for a long time, at the sun-weathered skin, the calm, steady eyes, the jaw that looked like it was carved from granite. You are either the bravest man I have ever met, or you are the dumbest. Probably a little of both. A small smile touched the corner of Sam's mouth. My pa always said I had more stubborn in me than I had sense. Sounds like a smart man. He was, right up until a horse threw him when I was 12. Sam put the bridle aside. The point is, I have been taking care of myself and this piece of land for a long, long time. I know every inch of these mountains, every trail, every place to hide. If your husband shows up here with a whole army, I will know about it before they get within 5 miles. And then what? Then I will do what needs to be done. Clara was silent for a moment. Then she said softly, I do not want you to die for me. I do not plan on it. Dying for anybody. Sam stood up and stretched his back. I'm planning on living, and I'm planning on making sure you do, too. He started walking toward the corral, but he stopped when Clara's voice called out to him, Sam. He turned around. Thank you. Her voice was so quiet it was almost a whisper, for not treating me like I'm some broken thing. You are not broken, Clara. You are just bent up some. He gave a slight tip of his hat. And things that are bent can be made straight again with enough time. He walked off before she could say another word, before she could notice how much it cost him to say that. Because the honest-to-God truth was that Sam Bridger had been bent himself for 4 long years. And until Clara stumbled onto his land, half dead, he had stopped believing he could ever be straight again. After 2 weeks, Clara put her foot down about earning her keep. I am not some charity project, she said with her hands planted on her hips. I know how to cook and clean, and I know a thing or two about medicine. Put me to work. You have got 3 broken ribs. 2. One was just cracked, and it is nearly healed up now. She shot him a glare. I am not going to just sit around feeling useless while you do everything. Sam recognized that look. He had seen it on a horse right before it decided to kick clean through a fence. Fine, he said. You can handle the cooking, but if you go and hurt yourself, I will be plenty upset. She was already making her way to the kitchen. And Sam, I am making some real food tonight. I have seen the kind of stuff you have been trying to live on. It is a genuine miracle you are still breathing. That evening, Sam sat down to the finest meal he had eaten in 4 years. There was roast chicken, fresh-made biscuits, and a gravy that tasted like it came from some high-dollar restaurant in the city. Where in the world did you learn to cook like this? My mother taught me. Clara sat at the other end of the table, barely touching her own food. She always used to say that a good meal could fix just about anything. You know, she might have been right about that. They finished their meal in a comfortable quiet. When it was over, Clara started to reach for his empty plate. Leave it be, Sam told her. I will handle the cleanup. You did the cooking. That is not, Clara started to say. He reached out and gently took her by the wrist. She still flinched, but she did not pull her hand away. Just let someone else take care of you for a change. It is not a sign of weakness to accept a little help. She looked down at their hands. His was big and calloused, and hers was small and covered in old scars. Bit by bit, the tightness in her shoulders seemed to melt away. I do not know how to do that anymore, she confessed. Thomas made sure I depended on him for everything, and then he would punish me for being dependent. That is not care, that is control. I see that now. She gently slid her hand from his grasp. But knowing something and feeling it are 2 different things. Sam gave a slow nod. Yeah, they surely are. He gathered up the plates and walked over to the wash basin. From behind him, he heard Clara's soft voice. Sam, you are a good man. I know you do not think so, but you are. He did not turn to face her. He did not trust what he might say, because the last person who ever called him a good man had been his daughter. And hearing those words again from this woman he hardly knew, it cracked something wide open inside his chest that he had spent 4 years trying to keep sealed up tight. During the 3rd week, Clara discovered the photograph. She was not trying to snoop. She was just dusting the fireplace mantel while Sam was out riding the fence line. The frame was made of old wood, and it was tucked behind a cracked vase like somebody was trying to hide it. It was a woman with kind eyes and dark hair, and she was holding a little girl who had Sam's stubborn chin. That is Sarah and Emma. Clara nearly jumped out of her skin. Sam was standing in the doorway holding his hat in his hands. I am so sorry, she said in a hurry. I was not trying to. I know you were not. He walked into the room, took the frame from her, and just looked at it for a good long while. Took this picture about a month before Emma got sick. Sarah wanted a family picture for Christmas. She is beautiful. They both were. Sam put the photo back on the mantel, but he turned it to face out this time. Emma would have been 10 years old this year. Clara knew better than to say she was sorry again. Words like that would not help. What was she like? Sam's hard expression softened, just a little. She was stubborn as a $2 mule and about twice as loud. She used to follow me around everywhere, out to the barn, into the fields. It drove Sarah plumb crazy. The faintest hint of a smile touched his lips. She wanted to be a horse trainer. Said she was going to own the biggest ranch in all of Colorado. She sounds wonderful. She was. His voice cracked. She was the very best part of me. Clara reached over and put a hand on his arm. He did not pull away. She would be proud of you, Sam. What you are doing for me, a complete stranger, that is not nothing. It is not about pride. Then what is it about? Sam looked at her. I mean, he really looked at her. And for the very first time, Clara saw beyond the quiet rancher, beyond the grief, and past all the walls he had built up around his heart. She saw a man who was drowning, who had been drowning for 4 years, and who had latched onto her like she was the first solid ground he had touched. I do not know anymore, he admitted. I thought I did. I thought I was just helping out somebody who was in a bad spot. But now, he stopped and shook his head. Now what? Clara asked gently. Now, I wake up in the morning thinking about you. I go to bed at night thinking about you. I work all day long just to have a reason to come back and see you at the supper table. He let out a bitter laugh. For 4 years, I did not feel a thing. Then you show up on my land half dead, and all of a sudden I am... Sam. I know it sounds crazy. I know you just escaped from hell on earth, and the last thing you need is some broken-down rancher with more baggage than a stagecoach. I am not asking for a thing. I just... Sam. Clara stepped toward him. Close enough to touch. Just be quiet. He fell silent. I spent 6 years with a man who used pretty words like they were weapons to hurt me, she said in a low voice. You stumble over every other sentence like you are terrified of saying the wrong thing. Do you know what that tells me? That I am not much of a talker. It tells me that you mean every single word. She reached up and gently touched the side of his face. He shut his eyes like her touch was a painful thing. I am not ready for anything. I do not know if I will ever be. But if I was, she took a shaky breath. If I was, it would be with a man like you. Sam opened his eyes. A man like me. A man who sees me. Not what I can do for him. Not what he can take from me. Just me. Her voice dropped to a whisper. It has been a long time since anyone has really seen me, Sam. I see you, he said, his voice rough with emotion. I see you, Clara. For a long moment, neither of them moved. The summer wind blew in through the open window, carrying the smell of sagebrush and wildflowers. Then Clara took a small step back. We had better stop, she said, before we go and do something we are not ready for. Yeah, Sam cleared his throat. Yeah, you are right. But neither one of them looked away. The rider appeared as the sun was setting. Sam spotted the cloud of dust first, a single horse moving at a hard pace from the east. He grabbed his rifle from the wall and told Clara to get inside and stay there. The hell I will, she shot back, pulling the pistol out of the kitchen drawer. Clara, I told you I know how to use this. Her jaw was set like stone. If Thomas sent somebody, I am not going to hide in a corner while you face him by yourself. Sam wanted to argue with her, but he saw the fire in her eyes and knew it would be a waste of breath. Just stay behind me, he ordered, and do not shoot unless I give the word. They waited on the front porch while the rider got closer. Sam's finger was resting on the trigger. The horse slowed to a trot. The rider held up both his hands. Do not shoot. I just have a message to deliver. It was just a kid. He could not have been more than 16. And he looked scared clean out of his wits. Sam lowered the rifle a little. Who sent you? A man back in town? He paid me $5 to bring this to you. The boy held out a piece of folded paper. Said you would want to see it right away. Sam took the paper from him. The kid spun his horse around and took off like the devil himself was on his tail. Clara moved up beside him. What is it? What does it say? Sam unfolded the paper. He read it. 2 times. A cold feeling spread through him. "Sam, what is it?" He passed the paper to her. Clara read the words, and every bit of color drained right out of her face. "I know where you are. I am coming." Clara's hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped the letter. "He found me." Her voice sounded empty and far away. "I knew he would. I told you he would find me." Sam took the paper from her and read it again, as if the words might have changed. They had not. "When was this sent?" "I do not know. There is no date on it." Clara wrapped her arms around her body. "It could have been sent yesterday. It could have been a week ago. He could be here tomorrow, Sam. He could be here tonight. He is not getting here tonight." Sam crumpled the letter into a tight ball in his fist. "It takes a man 3 days at least to get here from the closest telegraph station, and that is if he is riding his horse into the ground. We have got some time." "Time for what? To run again?" Clara laughed, but it was a bitter sound. "I have been running for 2 months straight. Look where it has gotten me. Time to get ready." Sam took her by the shoulders, his grip gentle but firm. "Look at me." Clara looked up and met his gaze. "I am not going to let him take you. Do you hear what I am saying? Whatever comes through that gate is going to have to go through me first. That is what I'm afraid of." Tears started to run down her cheeks. "You will get yourself killed for me. And then what happens? Then he wins all the same. Then he just drags me back to Philadelphia and see this thing through. Your life does not matter to him. Well, my death is not on the schedule. Thomas does not care about any schedule. He does not follow the rules. He writes them." Clara backed away from him. "I have to go tonight. If he finds me gone, he might just come after me and let you be. Or he might just burn this whole place to the ground for the trouble." Sam stood in front of the door. "You are not heading out anywhere. You are not the one to stop me. Just try me." They faced each other, breathing heavily, neither one giving an inch. The thick summer air felt like it was pressing in on them from outside. "Why?" Clara finally asked. "Why does this mean so much to you?" "We just met 3 weeks ago. I am a stranger to you. You are not a stranger. So what am I then? Tell me what I am to you, Sam." The question just hung there in the quiet room. Sam clenched his jaw like he was trying to work up the nerve to say something big. "You are the first person I have given a damn about in 4 years," he finally said. "The first thing that has made me think that maybe I am not just sitting here waiting to die. Is that reason enough for you?" Clara just stared at him. "That is not playing fair. Nothing about this is fair, but it is the God's honest truth." He took a step toward her. "I am not asking you to feel the same. I am not asking for a single thing. I am only telling you why I am going to stand up for you, whether you want me to or not. And if I go down fighting for something worthwhile." His voice got quiet. "And that is a hell of a lot more than I had yesterday." Clara shut her eyes for a moment. When she looked at him again, her expression had changed. The fear was still there, but there was a flicker of something hard underneath. "All right," she said, "we will fight, but we will be smart about it. Tell me everything about this ranch. Every last hiding place, every single advantage we have. If Thomas wants a war, we will give him one he will never see coming." A small smile touched Sam's lips. "That is more like it." They worked long into the night, making their plans. Sam scratched maps into the hard-packed dirt floor, pointing out the narrow spots on the trails, the places where a man could lay in wait and take out riders one by one. Clara's questions were sharp and smart, focusing on tactics, and Sam recalled she had survived a monster for 6 years. She understood how a hunter thinks. "He will have men with him," she said, "at least 4 or 5. Thomas does not like to get his own hands dirty." "Hired guns, you think?" "Most likely. Pinkertons, maybe. The kind of men who do not ask questions if the pay is right." "Are they good shots?" "Better than your average hand." Clara drew a line across the dirt map. "But they do not know this country. That is the one thing on our side." "The only thing," Sam muttered under his breath. "It is all we need." Clara looked straight at him. My father was a hunter before he took sick. He taught me that knowing the land is more important than how many men you have. One smart man on his own ground can take out an entire party if he has got the patience. Sounds like a man I would have gotten along with. He would have liked you, too. Clara's voice went soft. He used to say you can judge a man's true nature by the way he treats folks who have nothing to offer him. Sam could not find any words for that, so he just stayed quiet. They kept at it until the sun started painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. By that time, they had a strategy. It was not perfect, but it was something. You ought to get some rest, Sam told her. I've got to ride into town. What for? We need supplies, more ammunition. He paused for a second. And I have to see a few people. What people? Folks who owe me a favor or two. He picked up his hat. You stay inside. Keep that rifle handy. If anyone comes down that road, you get out of sight first and worry about who it is later. Clara reached out and grabbed his arm as he was about to leave. Sam. Yeah, you come back. It was not a question. It was a demand from the heart. I will, he said. I give you my word. He rode off as the sun was still making its way up from the window. Clara watched him disappear, the heavy rifle resting on her lap, trying her best not to imagine all the ways a promise can be broken. The town of Miller's Creek was not much to look at. Just a single main street with a general store, a saloon, a church, and some other buildings that looked like a good wind could knock them over. But it was full of people. And at that moment, Sam needed people. His first stop was Doc Walsh. I need to ask you for something, Sam said, getting right to the point. The old doctor glanced up from his morning coffee. This has to do with that woman you have got staying out at your place. News gets around quick. It is a small town. Doc Walsh nodded toward the empty chair across his table. Have a seat. Tell me just what kind of mess you have gotten yourself into. Sam laid it all out for him. The whole story, the beating, the husband, the letter. When he was done, Doc Walsh sat there in silence for a good long while. You are asking me to stand against a rich man, a man with powerful friends, the doctor said slowly. A man who could ruin every last person in this town if he had a mind to. I am asking you to help me protect an innocent woman from a man who means to kill her. It sounds like the same thing from where I'm sitting. Sam leaned in closer. Henry, you have known me for 15 years. You brought Emma into this world. You sat with me after she passed. Have I ever once come to you asking for a thing? No, you surely have not. I am asking you now. Doc Walsh let out a long sigh. He took off his spectacles, wiped them on his shirt, and put them back on his nose. What is it you need? Information. If any strangers show up in town asking about me or about Clara, I need to know about it. Their names, how many of them there are, which way they are headed. That is it for now. The old doctor gave a slow nod. I can do that for you. But Sam, he said, grabbing Sam's arm as he stood up to go, you be careful. Men with money do not play by the rules. They do not have to. Neither do I. Not this time. Sam made 3 more visits. He saw the blacksmith who had helped him raise his barn. He talked to the widow who ran the boarding house and knew every piece of gossip worth knowing. And he found the half-Cheyenne tracker who lived up in the hills, a man who owed Sam his life after a blizzard 6 years ago. By the time noon rolled around, he had his eyes and ears in place. It was not much, but it was a start. He was tying supplies onto his horse when a voice made him freeze. Sam Bridger. He turned around. 2 men were standing in the middle of the street. They wore city clothes and had cold, hard eyes. They were the kind of men who would smile right at you while they were causing you pain. Who is asking? The taller of the 2 took a step forward. We are looking for a woman named Clara Hollister. Her husband is mighty worried about her. I do not know anybody by that name. Well, that is strange. The shorter one pulled a photograph from his coat. It was Clara, all dressed up with her hair fixed, looking like a whole different person, especially since we've got word she's been holed up at your place. Sam's hand slowly moved closer to his sidearm. You got some bad information. Oh, is that right? The tall man smirked. You see, we've been on her trail for 2 months now. She's a clever one, I'll give her that. But everyone slips up, like using her real name at a boarding house down in Colorado Springs. Like I told you, I don't know the woman. Mr. Hollister is putting up a reward. The shorter man stepped forward. $500 for any news that brings her back safely. That's a mighty fine sum for a rancher. My interest is not in your money. Everybody is interested in money, not me. Sam untied his horse's reins. Now, if you gentlemen will pardon me, I have chores to do. Mr. Bridger. The tall man's voice got a hard edge to it. Thomas Hollister is a man with a long reach, real generous to his friends. But his enemies, he just shook his head slow. His enemies seemed to run into some awful bad luck. Sam swung up into his saddle and looked down at the two of them. You tell your boss something for me, he said, his voice low. Tell him if he wants Clara, he's got to come get her himself. And tell him he'd better bring more than a couple of city slickers in fancy suits. He spurred his horse and rode off before they could say another word, feeling their eyes on his back clean to the edge of town. Clara was right there on the porch when he got home. She jumped to her feet in a flash, rifle in her hands, but she lowered it once she saw who it was. I heard horses coming, thought. It is just me. Sam swung down and began to unload his supplies. But we have got a big problem. What sort of problem? The kind that comes with fellas carrying guns and asking questions. He told her all about the two men he met in town. He watched her face turn white as a sheet, then set like stone. Pinkertons, she said. They are Thomas's favorites. They have probably already sent a wire to him saying they found me. How much time do we have before he shows up? A week? Maybe not even that. He will want to deal with this himself. Her voice was full of bitterness. Thomas enjoys seeing people in pain. He would never trust that job to hired guns. Sam hauled the last of the provisions inside the cabin. Then I reckon we have a week to prepare for him. Sam. Clara was right behind him. Those men, they are going to come back with more people. I know it. We cannot fight off a whole posse by ourselves. We will not have to. Sam put down the box of ammunition and turned right around to face her. I spoke with a few folks in town, good folks. They're going to watch the roads for us, let us know if any strangers start heading this way. And I have got an old tracker friend up in the hills who has a knack for seeing things long before they arrive. You have friends. For a second, despite it all, Sam nearly let out a laugh. Do not sound so shocked. I am sorry, it is just... Clara just shook her head. Thomas spent years telling me I did not have anyone, that nobody would ever help me if I ever tried to leave. He said I was all alone. Well, you are not alone. Sam walked over to her. You have got me. And it sounds like you have got a whole town ready to stand between you and that son of a gun. They do not even know who I am. They know me, and that is enough for them. Clara just stared at him. Her eyes were shiny with tears, but she was not crying. Not yet. I do not understand you, she whispered, any of this. For 6 years, all I ever heard was how worthless I was, that no one would ever stand up for me, that I ought to be thankful for the life I had. And then I show up here and you, her voice broke. You act like I am somebody worth dying for. Maybe you are. I am not. I am just a woman who made a terrible mistake and has been paying for it ever since. You did not make a bad choice. Sam reached out and took her hand. She did not pull away. You put your trust in a man who did not deserve it. That is not the same thing at all, is it? No. He gave her fingers the gentle squeeze. We all trust the wrong person sometimes. The mistake is not in the trusting. The mistake is in blaming yourself for what a bad man does. Clara was quiet for a long time. Then she stepped right up to him and put her arms around his waist. Sam tensed up for a second. Then, slowly, he let his own arms circle around her. Thank you, she whispered into his chest, for seeing me as someone different than I am. Me? Well, that is what friends are for. She leaned back a little, looking straight up at him with those stormy gray eyes. Is that what we are, then, friends? Sam felt his throat get tight. I do not rightly know what we are, Clara. All I know for sure is that I am not about to let anything bad happen to you, and if something does happen to me instead, then I want you to take my horse and ride north. There is a town called Silverton about 3 days' ride from here. Good people there. They will help you out. I am done with running. Clara. No. Her jaw was set hard. If you're staying here to fight, then I am staying here to fight with you. We face this together, or we do not face it at all. Sam wanted to argue with her. He wanted to toss her on a horse and send her off to safety, whether she wanted to go or not. But then he saw that look in her eyes, that pure determination, and he knew it well. She was finished being a victim. Together, he finally agreed. But you will do exactly what I tell you when the bullets start flying. No questions asked. No questions asked. She paused for a moment. Just one thing. What is it? Teach me how to shoot better. Sam blinked. You told me your father taught you. He taught me how to hunt deer, not men. Clara's voice turned to ice. If Thomas Hollister walks through that door, I want to be the one to put a bullet right between his eyes. Sam looked at her face for a long time. The bruises were nearly gone now, but the scars on the inside, the kind no one else could see, he knew those were still raw. All right, he said. We will get started tomorrow. They began at sunrise. Clara was a much better shot than Sam had figured. Her hands were steady, her aim was true, and she never flinched when she squeezed the trigger. The only thing she was missing was speed. You're thinking on it too much, Sam told her after her 5th shot missed the mark. By the time you get a perfect aim, a man with a pistol has already fired back. Then how do I get faster? It is about instinct. He stepped up right behind her, shifting her posture slightly. Do not stare at the target. Look right through it. Let your hands do the knowing. She took another shot. Better, but still not quick enough. Again, Sam said. They kept at it until her arms were sore and her ears were ringing. After 3 days of practice, Clara could draw and fire her weapon in under 2 seconds. It was not as fast as a seasoned gunfighter, but it was enough. You will do, Sam told her. That is high praise coming from you. It is the highest I have got. He put his own pistol back in its holster. Now let us discuss what you do when you cannot shoot. What do you mean by that? I mean, what if they get in close? What if they manage to get that gun away from you? Sam slid a knife out from his boot. Thomas's men are going to be bigger than you and a whole lot stronger. You are not going to win a straight-up fight. So I do not fight fair. Exactly right. He passed her the knife. Eyes, throat, groin. Anywhere that is soft. Anywhere that will make 'em hurt. You will get 1 shot, so you make it count. Clara took the knife, feeling its weight in her hand. Thomas always used to tell me I was too weak to hurt a fly. Thomas was wrong about an awful lot of things. Yes, Clara looked up at him. He certainly was. That evening they sat together on the porch and watched the sun dip below the hills. The summer heat had finally given way and a cool breeze blew in, carrying the scent of rain from high up in the mountains. There's a storm coming, Sam said. Good. Maybe that will slow them down some. Maybe. He looked over at her. You scared? I am terrified. Clara kept her eyes fixed on the horizon. But it feels different this time. Before I was always scared of him. Now I am just scared of losing this, whatever it is we have here. She waved a hand between the two of them. 3 weeks ago I was bleeding out in the dust. And now I am sitting on a porch with a man who makes me feel like maybe I am not all broken to pieces. Her voice got real quiet. That is something worth being scared to lose. Sam did not say anything for a good long while. The sky faded from orange to a deep purple, then to black. When all this is over, he finally said, what is it you want? I do not know, I have not let myself think that far. Down the road. Give it a try, Clara thought about it. Some peace and quiet. A place where I do not have to be looking over my shoulder every single minute. She stopped for a breath. Maybe someone to share that peace with. Someone who does not want to own me. Just wants to be with me. That does not sound too complicated. It was never meant to be. She turned her head to look at him. What do you want, Sam? He thought about Sarah. He thought about Emma. He thought about 4 long years of feeling empty inside, and that strange, scary feeling that had been taking root in his chest ever since he found Clara lying in the dirt. Same thing, I reckon. Peace, a purpose, someone to come home to. We are quite the pair, are not we? Clara said softly. 2 busted-up people just hoping to find something whole. Maybe that is how it is supposed to be. Maybe you cannot find what is whole until you admit you are broken. Clara reached out and put her hand in his. He did not pull away. They sat like that in the darkness, their fingers woven together, while the storm clouds piled up in the distance and something truly dangerous was riding toward them through the long night. 4 days later, the tracker showed up. His name was Joseph Walking Crow, and he just appeared at dawn like a spirit, his horse not making a single sound that Sam could hear. "Riders are coming," Joseph said without any kind of hello. 6 of them. About 2 days out, maybe less. Sam's stomach clenched up. "Are you certain?" "I am certain. I have been tracking them since they turned off the main road. City fellas with fancy new guns. One of them has been asking questions in every town between here and Denver. Another one is older, wears expensive clothes, and rides his horse like he owns the very ground beneath him." Joseph's eyes were like flat stones. "Is that the man you are worried about?" "That is him." Clara had stepped out onto the porch behind them. Her face was pale. "Thomas," she whispered. "He came himself. I told you he would." Joseph looked from one to the other. "What do you need me to do?" Sam thought for a moment. "Keep an eye on them. Let me know if they split up or change their route, if they ride straight for this ranch. You want me to slow them down for you? Can you do that?" A faint smile touched Joseph's weathered face. "I can make life awful difficult for city boys out in these mountains. But I will not kill him unless I am forced to. That is fair enough." Sam reached out and gripped his arm. "Thank you, Joseph. I owe you for this. You saved my life one time. This makes us even." Joseph swung back onto his horse. "Be ready. They are coming with blood in their eyes." He was gone into the trees before Sam could answer. Clara walked down the steps. 2 days. That is not enough time. It is going to have to be. Sam took hold of her arm. "Come on now, we have got work to do." They spent the following 48 hours getting ready. Sam laid out some traps along the main trail. They were not designed to kill, just enough to make a horse stumble and rattle a man's nerves. Clara was busy gathering medical things, like bandages, rubbing alcohol, and a needle with thread. "You figure somebody is going to get hurt?" Sam asked. "I am preparing for the worst, but praying for the best." Clara put everything into a satchel. "My father always said, 'You sure do mention your father a lot.' He must have been a smart man." She buckled the bag. "He also said that the right time to get ready for a flood is before it starts raining. After it is over is just too late." Sam could not find any fault in that logic. On the night before Thomas was set to arrive, neither of them could get a wink of sleep. They sat there at the kitchen table with a bottle of whiskey between them. But neither took a drink. The rifle leaned by the door. Clara's pistol was right there on her hip. "Tell me a story," Clara said out of the blue. "What about?" "Anything. Something I do not know about you." Sam gave it a thought. "When I was 12, I stole a horse." "You did what?" "There was this fellow in our town, a real bastard. He used to whip his animals till they could barely stand. One day I saw his mare tied outside the saloon. You could see her ribs through her hide. Her back was covered in whip marks." Sam just nodded. "So I went and took her. What happened next?" "My daddy took a strap to me when he found out about it. He said stealing was a sin, no matter what the reason." Sam's jaw clenched up. "But he never made me return her." We kept her in our barn for 2 years, right up until she passed away. She was the finest horse I ever knew. A small but genuine smile appeared on Clara's face. You have been taking in strays for your whole life, have you not? Well, I would not go that far. I would. She reached over the table and put her hand on his. Sam, no matter what happens tomorrow, no, do not say a word. Let me finish. She gave his fingers a gentle squeeze. Whatever comes to pass, I just need you to know that these last few weeks have been the best I have had in my whole life. That is not a small thing. That is not nothing. You gave me back something that Thomas spent 6 long years trying to beat out of me. What is that? Hope. Her voice trembled just a little. You gave me hope again. Sam turned his hand over and tangled his fingers with hers. Well then, let us make sure we did not waste it, he said. Let us get through this together. Together. Clara nodded in agreement. They never did get to sleep that night, but they also never once let go of each other's hand. The dawn arrived slow and gray, with a sky full of heavy clouds that refused to break. Sam was checking his rifle for the 3rd time when he caught the sound. Hoofbeats, still far off but drawing nearer. Clara came to stand right beside him. The color had drained from her face, but her hand was steady as a rock on her pistol. They're here, she said. Yep. Sam took a deep breath. Just remember what I told you. If things start to go south, I am not running, Sam. I told you, I am not running. She looked him straight in the eyes. We are going to see this through together. You made me a promise. Sam wanted to argue the point, but all the time for that had run out. The riders appeared over the crest of the ridge, 6 of them, exactly as Joseph had warned. 5 men in long dusters with guns hanging at their hips. And out in front, sitting tall on a black stallion, was a man in a fine coat with silver hair and eyes as cold as a winter morning. Thomas Hollister had arrived to claim his wife. Sam stepped down from the porch, his rifle already raised. That is plenty far enough. Thomas Hollister lifted a single-gloved hand, and his men reined in their horses. He smiled like a man who had just shown up for a pleasant dinner, not a confrontation. You must be Mr. Bridger. His voice was smooth as silk, the voice of a man who had never been denied a thing. I have heard a fair bit about you. I wish I could say the same. Oh, I truly doubt that. Thomas's gaze shifted past Sam and landed on the cabin. Hello, Clara. You have certainly led me on quite a little chase. Clara walked out onto the porch. Her hand rested on her pistol, but her voice was strong. I am not going back with you, Thomas. Of course. You are, my dear. This little escapade has been quite entertaining, but it is time for you to come home. He glanced around at the ranch, his contempt plain to see. Surely you do not find this hovel preferable to everything I have given you. You gave me bruises and broken bones. You gave me terrible nightmares. You gave me 6 years of a living hell. Clara held her chin high. I would much rather live in this shack than spend a single second more as your wife. Thomas's smile never faltered, but a cold glint appeared in his eyes. You see, Mr. Bridger, this is precisely what occurs when you entertain a woman's dramatic fits. They begin to think they actually have choices. He snapped his fingers. Boys, go and retrieve my wife. 2 of his men swung down from their saddles. The crack of Sam's rifle split the air. Dirt sprayed up 6 inches from the nearest man's boot. Everybody froze. The next one goes straight through your chest, Sam said in a low voice. Both of you get back on your horses right now. The men looked over at Thomas. Thomas's jaw muscle twitched, a tiny, almost invisible movement. You are making an extremely serious mistake, Mr. Bridger. It would not be my first one. Do you have any real idea of who I am, or what I am capable of doing to you? I know exactly what you are. Sam took one step forward. You are a man who beats on women because you are not man enough to face someone your own size. You are a coward who hides behind his money and his hired guns, and as of right now, you are trespassing on my land. Thomas's expression grew dark. I have 3 judges in Philadelphia in my pocket. I own senators. I could have you arrested for kidnapping this very day. I could have you hanged. You would have to get me all the way to Philadelphia first, and I do not believe you brought enough men to get that job done." One of Thomas's hired men let out a short, ugly laugh. "Boss, there is only one of him and 5 of us. You just have to say the word." Sam kept his eyes locked on Thomas. "Tell your boy to count those numbers again. He seems to have missed the one standing behind you." The men whipped their heads around. Joseph Walking Crow was standing on the ridge behind them, his rifle aimed right at the center of their group. They had not heard him get there. Nobody ever did. "My friend up on that ridge, he is what the Cheyenne people call a ghost warrior," Sam went on. "He could put a bullet in every last one of you before you could even get your guns out of their holsters. And even if he could not," Sam gave a cold smile, "I only have to hit one person." His rifle barrel shifted, pointing directly at Thomas's heart. The quiet that followed was heavy. Sam could hear his own heart beating steady and slow. He had known this feeling from the old days. That moment right before the violence, when everything in the world becomes very simple. Thomas was doing the math in his head. Sam could see it plain as day in his eyes. The man was a predator, no doubt, but he was also smart. He was smart enough to recognize when the odds were not stacked in his favor. "All right, Mr. Bridger." Thomas held up both of his hands. "Perhaps we just got started on the wrong foot. I am a man of reason. Surely we can come to some kind of an arrangement. The only arrangement I am interested in making is the one where you get on your horse and you never come back here again. That is simply not going to happen." Thomas's voice turned hard as stone. "Clara is my wife. She belongs to me. She does not belong to anyone but herself. The law of the land says otherwise. Then the law is wrong." Thomas actually laughed. It was a real laugh, as if Sam had said the most ridiculous thing he had ever heard. "You people on the frontier, so charmingly uncomplicated." He shook his head. "Allow me to explain to you how the real world operates. In the real world, men like me are the ones who make the rules. Men like you are the ones who follow them, and women like Clara." He looked right at her with an expression that might have been mistaken for affection, if it was not so full of ownership. "Women like Clara do exactly as they are told." Clara's hand tightened on the grip of her pistol. "I am done doing what I am told." "Are you? Really? Because I seem to remember you saying that once before. It was right before I had to give you a lesson in obedience." Thomas's voice lowered. "Did you tell your cowboy friend what happened the last time you defied me, Clara? Did you tell him how you begged me? Did you describe how you crawled around on the floor crying and pleading with me to please stop? How you swore you would be a good girl and promised to never disobey me again?" Thomas smiled a cruel smile. "Did you tell him how you thanked me afterward for giving you that correction?" "Shut up," Clara's voice broke. "She always thanks me, Mr. Bridger. That is the thing you should know about Clara. She understands her place. She just needs a little reminding every now and then." Sam moved without a single thought. One moment he was standing near the porch. In the next, he was dragging Thomas clear off his horse and throwing him down into the dirt. Thomas's men grabbed for their pistols. The sharp crack of Joseph's rifle echoed. One man cried out, clutching his hand where a bullet had passed straight through. "The next one kills!" Joseph shouted down from the ridge. "Stay put!" Sam stood over Thomas, breathing heavily. The man was just a heap in the dirt. His expensive coat was filthy, and his carefully arranged composure was finally shattered. "Get up," Sam said. "You just made the biggest mistake of your entire life. I said get up." Thomas got to his feet slowly. There was a smear of blood on his lip where his face had met a rock. For the very first time, a flicker of genuine fear showed in his eyes. "You believe you are the first man to ever threaten me?" he hissed. "You think I have not dealt with your kind before? I will absolutely destroy you. I will burn this entire ranch down to the ground. I will—" Sam hit him hard. Thomas fell down again, spitting out a mouthful of blood. "That is for Clara." He hit him another time. "That is for every woman you have ever harmed. Again. And that one is because I have needed to hit something for 4 long years, and you are the first thing that actually deserves it." Thomas curled himself into a ball with his arms covering his head, whimpering like a dog. His men just watched, frozen in place between their own guns and Joseph's rifle. Clara came down from the porch steps. She stood over her husband, looking down at the man who had made her life a nightmare for 6 years. "You always told me that I was weak," she said in a quiet voice, "that I could not possibly survive without you, that nobody would ever want me or help me or see me as anything other than your property." Thomas looked up at her, his eyes already starting to swell shut. "Clara, please. You were wrong." She knelt down beside him. "I survived all of your beatings. I survived you leaving me for dead in the desert. I survived because I am so much stronger than you ever wanted me to be. I am your husband. You are nothing to me." Clara's voice was as steady as a surgeon's hand. "You are just a frightened little man who hurts people because it is the only way you know how to feel big, powerful. And I am done being scared of you." She got to her feet. "Sam, let him go." Sam stared at her. "What? Let him go. Let him and his men just ride on out of here. Clara, he is just going to come back. He will never give up. Yes, he will." Clara looked Thomas dead in the eye. "Because I have got something he wants a whole lot more than me." Thomas went completely still. "What in the world are you talking about?" Clara reached into her dress pocket and pulled out a small leather-bound journal. The color drained from Thomas's face. "I found this in your study the night I left. I did not know what it was at first, but I have had plenty of time to read it since then. Names, dates, payment amounts, every last bribe you have ever paid out, every judge you have got in your pocket, every politician you own." Clara gave him a cold smile. "I have already made copies of it all, Thomas, and they are with folks you will never be able to reach. If anything happens to me or to Sam, those copies are going to go to every newspaper in this country. You are bluffing." "Am I?" Clara tilted her head. "You taught me a lot of things while we were married, Thomas. You taught me how to be invisible, how to figure out what someone wants before they do, how to plan for the absolute worst." She held up the journal for him to see. "But the one thing you never taught me was how to be stupid." Thomas just stared at her like he was seeing her for the very first ever seen her. The woman standing before him was not the scared little wife he had beaten down. She was someone else entirely. "You will look at me." The silence hung heavy in the air. Thomas's men started shifting on their feet. Even Joseph, up on the ridge, seemed to be holding his breath. At last, Thomas let out a laugh. It was a broken, bitter sound. "Well played, Clara. I always knew you were sharper than you let on." He pulled himself to his feet, wiping blood from his mouth. "Fine. You can have your cowboy. You can have this pathetic little ranch. But you better not think for a second this is over. It is over." Clara took a step toward him. "I am going to file for a divorce, Thomas, and you are not going to put up a fight. You will not send your lawyers or your Pinkertons or anybody else. You are going to sign those papers and you are going to let me go. Or what? You think you will ruin me? I will destroy you." Clara's voice dropped to a low whisper. "Everything you have ever built, everything you own, every single connection you have ever made, I will burn it all to the ground, and I will make sure every soul knows exactly the kind of man you really are." Thomas's jaw tightened. He glanced at Sam, then at Joseph on the ridge, then at his own man, who was still holding his bleeding hand. "You think you have won," he said, his voice quiet. "But you have not. People like me, we do not lose. We just wait." "Then wait." Clara gave him a small smile. "I have got all the time in the world." Thomas turned to his men. "Mount up. We are leaving." "But, boss," the man with the hurt hand began to protest. "I said, mount up." They did as they were told. Sam held his rifle steady until every last man was back on his horse. Thomas stared down at Clara one final time. "You are going to regret this. I already regret 6 years of my life. This will not even come close." Thomas yanked his horse around and rode off without another word. His men fell in line behind him. Sam kept watching until they were just a cloud of dust in the distance. And then Clara's knees gave out. Sam was there to catch her before she could hit the dirt. She was shaking so hard he could feel the tremors in his own body. You did it, he whispered. You stood up to him. You won. I thought I was going to be sick, but you were not. No, Clara managed a weak laugh. No, I was not. Joseph rode down from the ridge. He looked at Clara with an expression that looked a lot like respect. You have a warrior's heart, he told her. He will not forget what you did. Will he come back? Joseph thought for a moment. Men like that, they are like wounded coyotes. Sometimes they run for the hills. Sometimes they circle back to bite you. He looked over at Sam. Keep your eyes open. I will. Joseph gave a single nod, then turned his horse and disappeared back into the yard. Hills. Sam helped Clara get up onto the porch. She collapsed onto the steps, still shaking. I cannot believe that actually worked. I was just making most of that up as I went. The journal? That is real. But the copies? Clara just shook her head. I never had time to make any copies. I was just praying he would believe that I did. Sam just stared at her. You bluffed him. I spent 6 years studying that man. I know what he is scared of more than anything else. Clara looked down at the journal she was holding. He is terrified of being shamed in public, of people seeing him for what he truly is. As long as this book exists, he will not take that risk. What if he decides to call your bluff? Then I will make good on my promise. Clara's voice turned to steel. I was not lying about that part. If he ever comes back, I will destroy him. Sam sat down next to her. His own hands were still trembling from the adrenaline, from the pure effort it took not to kill Thomas Hollister when he had the chance. I wanted to kill him, he confessed in a low voice. When he was on the ground, I wanted to hit him until he stopped moving for good. Why did you not? Because you asked me not to. Sam finally met her eyes. And because I do not want to be the kind of man who kills someone right in front of the woman. He trailed off. Clara became very still. The woman, he what? Sam's jaw worked. Forget it. No. Clara reached out and took his hand. Sam. The woman. He what? The words felt caught in his throat. It had been 4 years of silence, of grieving, of telling himself he would never feel a thing for anyone again. And now here was this woman, this impossible woman, looking at him like he was worth something. The woman he loves, Sam said, his voice rough. That is what I was going to say. The woman he loves. Tears welled up in Clara's eyes. Sam, I know this is too soon. I know you just got away from one man, and the last thing you need is another one laying claim to you, but I cannot help it, Clara. I tried. I really tried to keep things friendly, to keep it simple, but every blessed day I wake up thankful that you are here, and every single night I fall asleep scared to death that you are going to leave. I am not leaving. You say that now, but I am not leaving. Clara put her hands on his face. Sam Bridger, for 6 long years I was told that I was worthless, that no one could ever truly love me, that I was damaged, used up, and broken in a way that could not be fixed. That is not true. I know that now, and it is because of you. She gently wiped a tear from his cheek. You looked at me when I was half dead and beaten so badly I was unrecognizable. And you saw something in me that was worth saving. You fed me, you healed me, and you protected me. And you never once, not a single time, asked for anything for it. I was not doing it for gratitude. I know. And that is why it means everything. Clara leaned in and rested her forehead against his. I love you, Sam. I did not think I would ever be able to say those words again. I did not think I could feel them, but I love you. Sam squeezed his eyes shut. Something he had kept locked up tight inside him finally broke open. Something he had buried when Emma died, when Sarah left. When he finally convinced himself that love was just another name for loss. I am scared, he admitted. Of what? Of losing you. Of caring about someone this much only to have them taken away from me again? Clara pulled back just enough to look him in the eyes. I cannot promise you that nothing bad will ever happen again. I cannot promise that Thomas will not find some other way to try and hurt us, but I can promise you this." She kissed him, a soft and gentle kiss. "I am not going anywhere. Whatever is coming for us, we will face it together." "Together," Sam repeated. He kissed her back. It was gentle at first, but then it grew deeper. 4 years of loneliness came pouring out of him, and Clara took it all in and gave back everything she had. When they finally pulled apart, both of them were crying. "Just look at us," Clara said with a watery laugh. "Two broken people sitting on a porch acting like we just won a fortune. Kind of feels like we did." "Yeah." She rested her head on his shoulder. "It really does." They just sat there together as the sun climbed up in the sky. Neither one of them wanted to move. Neither one of them wanted to break the spell. For the first time in a very long time, the future felt like something to look forward to, not just something to survive. But that peace was not meant to last. 3 days later, Doc Walsh came riding up to the ranch at a full gallop. "Sam, you have got to get to town. Right now." Sam was on his feet in an instant. "What is wrong?" "Those men, the ones who came looking for Clara, they never left. They have been staying over at the boarding house, asking questions all around town." Doc Walsh's face was grim. "This morning, one of them shot the blacksmith's son." Clara grabbed a hold of Sam's arm. "What? Why?" The boy saw them hassling a woman behind the saloon and tried to step in. Doc Walsh shook his head. "He is alive, but just barely. And folks are scared, Sam. Thomas's men have been making threats, telling everyone that anybody who helped Clara is going to pay for it." Sam's blood ran cold. "This is my fault. This is Thomas's fault," Clara said with fire in her eyes. "He could not beat us, so now he is hurting innocent people to try and draw us out. Well, it is working." Sam snatched his rifle from its hook. I am going with you," Clara said. "Do not even try to argue with me." Her eyes were like stone. "Those people are in danger because they helped me. I am not going to sit here and hide while you go face this by yourself." Sam wanted to tell her no. Every single instinct he had was screaming at him to keep her safe, to keep her hidden away. But then he saw the hard set of her jaw, and he knew she was right. "Fine, but you stay right behind me. No heroics. The same goes for you." They rode toward town as fast as their horses could go. Sam's mind was racing, thinking of all the ways this could go wrong. Thomas was gone, but he had left his men behind. That meant he had given them orders, and it was clear those orders were meant to make him and Clara suffer. Miller's Creek was quiet when they rode in. It was too quiet. The streets were deserted and the window shutters were all closed tight, like the whole town was holding its breath. Doc Walsh met them at the edge of town. "They are down at the saloon, all 5 of them. The one you shot in the hand is mighty angry about it. Where is Joseph? I have not seen him, but his horse is over at the livery." So Joseph was somewhere close by, watching. That was something, at least. Sam swung down from his horse and handed Clara the rifle. "Stay here. If things go bad, you ride back to the ranch and you do not look back. Sam, promise me." Clara's jaw was tight, but she gave him a nod. Sam started walking toward the saloon. His boots echoed on the wooden planks of the boardwalk. The sun felt like a heavy weight on his shoulders. He pushed his way through the swinging doors. 5 men looked up from the card game they were playing. The one with the bandaged hand, the same one Joseph had shot, cracked a smile when he saw Sam. "Well, well, look what the cat dragged in. I hear you fellas have been causing trouble. Just having ourselves a little fun." The man got to his feet slowly, his good hand resting right on the butt of his pistol. "Your friend up in the hills there cost me 2 of my fingers. I figure that is worth at least a few of your bones being broken. The boy you shot is only 16 years old. He was just sticking his nose where it did not belong." The man shrugged. "Consider it a lesson learned." Sam took 1 step forward. "Here is a lesson for you. Get out of this town now, or what your hand looks like is going to be the least of your worries." The men all laughed. One of them, a big fellow with a scar running across his face, stood up. "You have got some sand, I will give you that." But there are 5 of us, and only one of you. And your Indian friend is not here to save your hide this time. Are you so sure about that? A voice said from behind them. Joseph stepped out from the shadows near the back door. He held a knife in each of his hands. I am always here, he said in a quiet voice. You just do not always see me. The smiles on the men's faces vanished. Sam drew his pistol. Last chance. Ride out. Get out. And don't you dare come back, or this is going to end with somebody on the ground. The ringleader, the fellow with the wrapped-up hand, glanced at his crew, then at Sam, and then over to Joseph. Thomas told us to make the cowboy hurt, he said. Told us to go after everyone he cares about until he snaps. Well, Thomas ain't here now, is he? No, but his money sure is. The man's eyes turned to stone. And we've already been paid our due. His fingers twitched, moving toward his pistol. Sam was a whole lot faster. The gunshot cracked through the saloon like thunder. The leader fell, grabbing his shoulder and letting out a scream. Joseph moved like a wisp of smoke. 2 more fellas went down before they could even get their guns out. His knives found their mark with the skill of a surgeon. The big fella with the scar on his face made a run at Sam. They smashed right through a table, throwing punches. That man was strong, a sight stronger than Sam figured. A fist hit Sam's jaw so hard he saw stars behind his eyes. Sam! It was Clara's voice. She was standing in the doorway. A rifle was in her hands. Get the heck out of here. The scarred man wrapped his big hands around Sam's throat. He squeezed. The world around Sam started to fade to gray. Another gunshot rang out. The man jolted, looked down at the dark red stain spreading on his shirt, and then he crumpled to the floor. Clara stood right behind him, a pistol still smoking in her hand. I told you, she said, her voice trembling something fierce. We do this together. The last of Thomas's hired guns dropped his weapon. I give up. I give up. Please, don't shoot. Sam staggered back to his feet, fighting for breath. His throat burned something awful where the man had him. Joseph stepped over to the ones who were left. 2 wounded men who had surrendered. Their leader was still on the floor, hollering about his shoulder. What do you want me to do with them? Joseph asked. Sam looked over at Clara. She was pale and shaking, but her eyes were firm as an old oak. Take them to the sheriff, she said. Let the law sort 'em out. That sheriff might just be on Thomas's payroll. Then we will find a lawman who is not. Clara stepped right over a body without even flinching. I am done with all this death. I am done with all this fighting. These men will see justice, but it will not come from us. Sam had the urge to argue. A part of him wanted to finish the job right then and there. Make certain Thomas's men could never harm another soul. But Clara was right. She was always right. You heard the lady, he said to Joseph. Take him to the sheriff. Let the town figure out what to do with this mess. Joseph just nodded. And if Thomas sends more men, then we will deal with them too. Sam reached out and took Clara's hand. But not tonight. Tonight, we are going home. They walked out of that saloon, leaving all the blood and the bodies behind them. The town was still quiet, but Sam saw faces peeking from behind curtains, their eyes watching. Tomorrow would bring questions and consequences and probably a whole new mess of trouble, but that was a problem for tomorrow. Tonight they had each other, and for the time being that was more than enough. They rode back to the ranch without a word. Clara hadn't said anything since they left town, and Sam knew better than to push her. He understood what it cost a person to take a life, even when it was the life of a man who had it coming. When they arrived home, Clara swung down from her horse and walked right over to the well. She pumped water over her hands, scrubbing them hard like she could wash away the memory of what she had done. Clara, I killed a man. Her voice sounded empty. I pulled that trigger and he died. He was fixing to kill me. I know. She just kept on scrubbing. I know he was, but I can still feel it. The way the gun kicked back in my hand. The look on his face when he knew it was over. Sam took her hand in his and made her stop. Look at me. She finally looked up. Her eyes were wet with tears, but she was not crying. Not yet, anyway. What you did was not murder. It was protection. You saved my life. Does that make it right? It makes it necessary. Sam pulled her into his arms. This world ain't always split clean between right and wrong, Clara. Sometimes it is just a bunch of different shades of surviving. And you survived. We both did. Clara hid her face in his chest. Her whole body shook with the sobs she had been holding back ever since the saloon. I do not want to be the kind of person who kills people. You are not. You are the kind of person who protects the people she loves. Sam gently stroked her hair. Is there a difference? Yeah, there is. They stood like that in the fading daylight, just holding on to each other, while far off in the distance, a storm was brewing over the mountains. Sam knew this was not the end of it. Thomas would get word of what happened. He would send more men or come himself, or figure out some other way to make them pay. But that was a fight for another day. Right now, Clara was alive. He was alive. And for the first time in 4 long years, Sam Bridger felt something he had nearly forgotten how to feel. He felt hope. 2 weeks went by with no word from Thomas. Clara had stopped sleeping through the night. Every little creak of the cabin, every sound from far away would make her sit straight up in bed, her hand reaching for the pistol she now kept under her pillow. He is planning something, she said one morning, pacing back and forth in the kitchen, while Sam tried to eat his breakfast. Thomas does not just give up. He does not take defeat well. He is out there somewhere right now, figuring out the best way to ruin us. Maybe he is scared. Thomas does not get scared. He gets even. Sam pushed his plate away. Clara, you have hardly eaten a thing in days. You are not sleeping. You're gonna wear yourself down to nothing, just waiting for something that might never come. Oh, it will come. And when it does, we will handle it, just like we have handled everything else. Clara stopped her pacing and looked at him, the exhaustion plain on her face. How do you do that? Do what? How do you stay so calm after everything we have been through? Sam got up and walked over to her, taking her hands in his. I am not calm. I am just bone-tired of being afraid. He gave her fingers a squeeze. I spent 4 years being scared to feel anything at all. Scared of caring about someone just to lose them all over again. Then you came along, and I realized that being scared is a whole lot worse than whatever might happen. That is easy for you to say. No, it is not. Sam's voice grew hard. I buried my own daughter, Clara. I watched my wife turn her back and walk away. I know exactly how bad things can get. But I also know that hiding from your life is not the same thing as living it. Tears started to well up in Clara's eyes. I do not want to lose you. You will not. You cannot promise me that. Maybe not. But I can promise that I will fight like hell to keep that promise. He pulled her close. Whatever Thomas is planning, we face it together. You remember? Together, Clara whispered against his chest. They held on to each other in the morning sunlight. Just 2 people clinging to a little bit of hope in a world that had given them every reason to let go. The letter showed up 3 days later. Joseph was the one who brought it. He rode up to the ranch looking like he had been running flat out for hours. This came through the telegraph office down in Miller's Creek. He handed Sam a piece of folded paper. The fellow who runs the wire thought you ought to see it. Sam read it. The color drained from his face. What is it? Clara asked. Sam handed her the letter without saying a word. It was addressed to Thomas Hollister, to be sent to his lawyers back in Philadelphia. The message inside was short. Business is concluded. The evidence has been secured. We will arrive in Denver on August 15th with federal marshals. Prepare yourself for arrest. Clara looked up from the paper. I do not understand. What in the world does this mean? It means somebody else got to Thomas before we could. Sam took the letter from her. Federal marshals. That means he is in trouble for federal crimes, something a whole lot bigger than hurting his wife. Who sent it? It does not say. But look here at the date. Sam pointed to the paper. August 15th. That is tomorrow. Clara's heart began to hammer in her chest. Thomas is really being arrested. It sure looks that way. She had to sit down, and quick. Her legs felt like they would not hold her up another second. 6 years, she said, letting out a breath. 6 years of living in hell, and someone else is going to be the one to bring him down. Does it really matter who does it, as long as it gets done? Clara thought on that for a moment. All those nights she had laid awake planning her escape, all the time she had dreamed about justice, about Thomas finally having to answer for all the terrible things he had done. She had pictured courtrooms and confessions, and the entire world finally seeing him for the monster he was. She had never once imagined it would all happen without her. I have to be there. Sam's head shot up. What are you talking about? When they arrest him? I need to see it for myself. Clara got to her feet. I need to watch him fall. Clara, that is a crazy idea. Denver is a 3-day ride from here, and you know Thomas will have his men crawling all over the place. I do not care. Her voice had iron in it. I spent 6 years of my life as his victim. I lived through his beatings, his cruelty, and his men trying to kill me. I have earned the right to watch him lose every last thing. Sam wanted to argue. Every part of him was screaming to keep her right here, to keep her safe. But he saw the fire burning in her eyes. It was the same fire he saw when she faced down Thomas on this very porch. The same fire that pulled a trigger to save his life. Fine, he said. We will go to Denver. Sam, you do not have to do that. If you are going, then I am going. He grabbed his hat. Joseph, can you keep an eye on the ranch? Joseph gave a nod. For how long? A week, maybe 2. Depends on how things shake out. I will make sure it is still standing when you get back. Joseph looked over at Clara. This is a brave thing you are doing. A bit foolish, maybe, but brave. That is the story of my life, Clara said. They were gone within the hour, riding hard under the summer sun, only stopping when the horses were worn out and needed a rest. Clara pushed herself past the point of exhaustion, driven by something Sam could not quite put his finger on. The second night, they set up camp down by a creek. Clara had not said a word for hours, and Sam finally could not stand the quiet any longer. Talk to me. Clara looked up from the campfire she had been staring into. About what? About why you really have to see Thomas get arrested. And do not tell me it is just about justice. She was quiet for a good long while, then she said, When I was married to Thomas, I used to have this dream, the same one, over and over again. What kind of dream was it? I dreamed I was invisible. Not like in a story, but really, truly invisible. I could walk through a room and nobody would see me. I could scream at the top of my lungs and nobody would hear me. I could be standing right in front of Thomas, and he would look straight through me like I was not even there. Me away like I was not even there. Sam waited. When I would wake up, I realized the dream was almost real. To survive, I had to make myself invisible. I became small and quiet and easy to forget. The less Thomas ever noticed me, the less he would hurt me. Clara pulled her knees up to her chest. I made myself disappear for 6 years, Sam. And when I finally got away, I just kept on disappearing. I went to different towns, used different names, and I was always hiding. You were just trying to stay alive. I was staying invisible. Clara met his eyes. If I do not see Thomas put under arrest, if I do not watch him face what he has done while I am standing right there, visible and real, then a part of me will always be that invisible woman, that ghost who was too afraid to even exist. Sam understood it all then. This was not about getting revenge. It was not even about getting justice. This was about Clara proving to her own self that she was real, that she mattered, and that 6 years of being erased from the world had not completely destroyed her. All right, he said in a soft voice. Then we will make sure he sees you. We will make sure he knows exactly who it was that brought him down. Clara smiled. It was a fragile thing, but it was a real smile. Thank you for understanding. I might not get all the particulars, but I see what matters. Sam said, his voice low as he reached over the campfire to take her hand. "Clara, you are the toughest soul I have ever met. And come tomorrow, Thomas Hollister is going to learn that lesson the hard way." They rode into Denver on the afternoon of August 15th. The place was a whole different world, bigger than anything Clara had laid eyes on since leaving Philadelphia. Streets were choked with people, buildings scraped the sky, and folks were buzzing around like bees in a busted hive. After so many quiet weeks out on Sam's ranch, it was just too much. "Where are we headed?" she asked him. "The federal courthouse. That is the first stop for any man the marshals put in cuffs." They shoved their way through the throng, following the street signs until a big stone building with pillars and flags came into view. A whole mess of people was already camped out front, newspaper fellas, folks with nothing better to do, and others who had caught wind of something big and came to gawk. "What is all the fuss about?" Sam asked a fella near the front of the pack. "Big shot from back east getting arrested. Rumor is he has been paying off half the politicians in Washington." The man just shook his head. "They are bringing him out any second now." Clara's heart was hammering against her ribs. She started shouldering her way forward, not caring about the grumbles from the people she passed. Sam stuck right with her, a steady hand on her arm. And that is when she saw him. Thomas was getting pulled from a carriage with a federal marshal on each arm. His wrists were locked in heavy iron shackles. That fine suit of his was all rumpled, and his silver hair looked like a mess. He looked like 10 hard years had hit him all at once. But his eyes, Lord, his eyes had not changed a bit. They were still cold as a winter creek, sharp and figuring, scanning the crowd until they found what they were looking for, her. Their eyes met. Thomas's face twisted up. Pure fury, surprise, and a deep-seated hate all played across his face in a heartbeat. "You!" he snarled, and tried to lunge for her. The marshals dug in and held him tight. "You are the one behind this." Clara stood her ground. She did not so much as blink. She just stood there, letting him see her, looking right at the man who had been her nightmare for 6 long years. "No, Thomas," she said, her voice solid as a rock. "You brought this on yourself. I will get you for this. I will find a way, Clara, I swear it." "That is enough out of you," one of the marshals growled, pulling him back hard. "Sir, you have got plenty of trouble without making more." But Thomas would not stop screaming. He hollered threats and curses, promising what he would do to her. The crowd just stared, part scared, part thrilled. Clara just watched. She watched them haul him inside, watched until his voice was gone, watched until the big doors swung shut. Then, she turned her back on it all and started walking. Sam found her a block down the street. She was trembling all over. "Clara." "I figured I would feel different," she said. Her voice was empty, like a dry well. "I thought seeing him chained up like that would mend something broken in me. But it did not. I just do not know." Clara came to a stop, her eyes looking up at him, completely lost. "All this time, all I did was hate him and dream of this day. And now that it is over, there is just nothing inside." Sam led her into a quiet alley away from all the noise. He gently took her face in his hands. "Now you listen to me. What you are feeling is natural. For 6 years you had to build up walls just to get by. You cannot expect them to crumble in a day just because the danger has passed. So when do they fall?" "When they are good and ready," he said softly, kissing her on the forehead. "But you do not have to tear them down by yourself. I am right here with you, Clara. For as long as it takes, I am right here." Clara let her eyes drift shut and leaned against him, finally letting go. "But what if I am never ready? What if this broke me for good?" "You are not broken. You are mending, and there is a world of difference between the two. You keep telling me that, because it keeps being the truth." They just stood there in that alley as the city hurried past them. Just 2 folks from different places, thrown together by something awful, but held together by something a whole lot stronger. "I want to go home," Clara finally whispered. "Back to the ranch. Our home." She looked right at him. "If you still want me there." A real smile spread across Sam's face, the first one that reached his eyes in years. I will have you, Clara, for as long as you are willing to stay. It took them 3 days to ride back. They took it slower this time, with no danger pushing them on. They talked more on that trip than they had in all the time they had known each other, talking about where they had been, what they were scared of, and what they hoped was coming. Clara told Sam about her folks, how her mama passed when she was just a girl, and how her daddy raised her by himself, teaching her to track and shoot and be her own woman. He would have taken a shine to you, she said. He always told me I ought to marry a man who would see me as his partner, not his property. Sounds like he was a wise man. He was, Clara's voice hitched, right up until the sickness took him. I was only 18 when he passed, all alone. That is why it was so easy for Thomas to trick me. He promised me a safe place, a family, all the things I did not have anymore. You were in a tough spot. He used that against you. None of that is on you. I know that. Deep down, I do now. Clara reached out and put her hand on his. But I did not truly believe it until I met you. Sam told her about his little girl, Emma. He spoke of the feverish nightmares, the prayers that went unanswered, and the awful quiet after her small body finally gave out. I used to talk to her, you know, he confessed. After she was gone, I would go out and sit by her little grave and tell her all about my day, just as if she was right there listening. Maybe she was. Maybe. Sam's jaw went rigid. Sarah, she thought I had lost my mind. Told me I was clinging to a ghost. That was when she packed her things and left. She was wrong about that. Was she, though? I was out on that ranch for 4 years by myself, talking to my dead child instead of getting on with my life. Maybe I was touched in the head. You were grieving, Clara said, squeezing his hand. That is a different thing altogether. You were not holding on to a ghost, Sam. You were holding on to love. And there is nothing crazy about that. Sam just looked at her. This woman, who had been through a hell he could not even picture, who had every right to be angry and shut off from everyone. And yet, here she was, giving him a kindness he sure did not feel he had earned. How in the world did I find you? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. You did not find me. You rescued me. Clara gave him a small smile. And there is a world of difference between the two. They got back to the ranch as the sun was dipping low on the 4th day. Joseph was on the porch waiting. He got to his feet when he saw them, and the look on his face twisted something in Sam's gut. What is it? Had some visitors while you were away, Joseph said, his voice level and hard. 3 fellas in city suits. Said they were lawyers for Thomas Hollister. Clara's face lost all its color. But Thomas is locked up. They were not here for her. Joseph's eyes were fixed on Sam. They were here for you. Sam swung down from his horse, his movement slow and deliberate. What are you talking about? Joseph held out a folded piece of paper. They left this for you. Said you have got 30 days to give them an answer. Sam took the document and unfolded it. He read the words once, then read them over again, hardly believing them. What is it? Clara asked, her voice tight with worry. Thomas is suing me, Sam said. He sounded far away, even to his own ears. He is suing me for assault, for kidnapping, for destroying his property. He is telling the law that I held you here and that I jumped him for no reason. That is crazy talk. He is the one who attacked us. It does not matter what is true. He has got a team of lawyers. All I have got is this ranch and a name that is already mud in this county. Sam crushed the paper in his hand. He could not beat us with lead, so now he's trying to beat us with paper. Clara gently took the wadded-up document from him, smoothed it out, and read every word. Sam, this is bad. He wants enough money to take this whole place, the stock, every last thing. I know. Can he do it? Can he win? I do not rightly know, but he has got the money and the friends in high places. I have not got either one. Clara's jaw hardened. That look was back in her eyes, that glint of pure steel, the same fire he had seen when she faced Thomas down on that very porch. Then we will fight him. How? I cannot pay for no lawyers. You do not need them. We need proof. Clara laid the document flat on the table. Thomas is claiming you went after him with no good reason. But we have people who saw it all. Doc Walsh, the folks in town, everyone who watched his men try to hurt us. It will be their word against his, and my word." Clara moved a little closer. "Sam, I am his wife. I know things about that man that will tear his story to shreds. I have business records and the names of witnesses. I know every single thing he ever said or did when he thought nobody was paying attention. You would stand up in court and say that against him. I would do a whole lot more than that." Clara's voice turned to steel. "I would tell the entire world what kind of man he truly is. Every punch, every threat, every single time he made me feel like I was less than nothing. Let him try to sue you for taking me. I will tell that judge I ran to you because you were the first man who ever made me feel safe." Sam just looked at her. "Clara, if you do this, everybody is going to know. They will know everything that he did to you. I do not care anymore." Clara put her hands on his face. "I spent 6 years of my life hiding, feeling ashamed and acting like everything was all right because the truth was just too awful to say out loud. I am done hiding, Sam. If telling my story is what it takes to keep you safe, then the whole world can listen." Sam felt something inside his chest just break wide open. This woman, this unbelievable brave and broken woman, was ready to share her deepest pains to protect him. "I am not worthy of you," he said, his voice thick. "Maybe not, but you are stuck with me now." Clara kissed him. "We faced this together, you remember? Together." Sam nodded. That next month was the toughest one Sam had ever lived through. Lawyers came and went from the ranch. They took statements under oath. Sam had to go through every single second of finding Clara, of saving her, of fighting off Thomas's men. He had to explain every choice, every shot he fired, every single thing he did. But what Clara went through was so much worse. She was on the witness stand for 3 long days. She told complete strangers in suits about the beatings that had cracked her ribs, about the nights she spent hiding in closets, and about the time Thomas had pushed her head under water until she almost ran out of air. Sam sat right there with her through every bit of it. He held her hand when her voice started to tremble, and he held her even tighter when those lawyers tried to paint her as a liar, a schemer, a wife who just walked out on her husband for no good reason. She never once backed down. She never wavered. Even when they brought up things Sam had never known, like a baby she lost after Thomas kicked her in the stomach or a scar on her back from a belt buckle, Clara just kept talking, kept telling her truth. When it was all said and done, she fell into Sam's arms and just cried for 3 solid hours. "It is over now," he whispered into her hair. "You did it. It is all over. It does not feel like it is over. It feels like I just tore myself open and let the whole world look at the mess inside. What is inside you is courage, Clara. Pure courage. It does not feel like courage. It feels like shame. Then let me help you carry it." Sam held her closer. "You do not have to feel all of this by yourself anymore." The judge's decision came 2 weeks later. He ruled completely in Sam's favor. Not only did he throw out Thomas's lawsuit, but he also suggested that federal prosecutors should look into more charges, including attempted murder, based on what Clara had said about being left out in the desert. Thomas Hollister, who was already in trouble for corruption, was now looking at the real chance of spending the rest of his days in a prison cell. Sam read the official paper out loud to Clara as they sat on their porch. When he was done, she sat quietly for a long time. "It is really finished. It is really finished." Clara got up slowly, walked over to the porch railing, and stared out at the land that had become her sanctuary. "I keep waiting for the happiness to hit," she said softly. "Everybody tells me I won, that we won, but I do not feel like a winner. I just feel worn out." Sam walked over and stood right beside her. "That is because winning a fight is not the same thing as healing from it. You survived. You spoke your truth. You protected the people that you love. But surviving takes a piece of you that does not just grow back overnight. Does it ever come back? Yeah, darling, it does. Sam took her hand in his. I lost Emma 4 years ago. For a long while, I was sure I would never feel anything but that ache. Then you showed up and you made me realize that grieving is not the opposite of loving. It is just a part of it. You can hold on to both at the same time. Clara turned her head to look right at him. When did you get to be so smart? About the same time, a woman who was half dead called me a freight train and told me I snore. Clara laughed. It was a sudden, surprising sound, and it was the most beautiful thing Sam had ever heard in his life. I love you, she said. It was the first time she had said those words since that awful night back in town. The first time the word felt like freedom instead of fear. I love you too, Sam said. And I reckon I am just going to keep on saying it until you finally believe me. I believe you. Clara moved into his arms. I think I believed you the very first time you promised you would not hurt me. I just did not know how to trust that feeling yet. And now, well, now I am learning. She looked up at him with those green eyes that had been in his dreams since the second he found her, near death in the dust. Show me the rest. Sam kissed her, gently at first, and then with more feeling. It was a promise and a question and an answer all mixed into one. I have got time, he said with his lips against hers. We have got all the time in the world. The sun dipped down behind them, painting the Colorado sky with strokes of gold and purple. Two people just stood on a porch, holding on to each other, as the last shadows of their past finally melted away. Tomorrow there would be chores to do, a ranch to manage, and a life to put back together. But tonight, there was only this moment, only them, and the quiet knowledge that no matter what came their way, they would handle it together. The divorce papers showed up on a Tuesday morning. Clara held the envelope in her hands for a good long while before she opened it. Sam watched her from the other side of the kitchen table, just waiting. It is official, she said at last. Her voice sounded strange, empty. I am not Clara May Hollister anymore. How does that make you feel? I do not know. She put the papers on the table. I thought I would feel free, but mostly I just feel like I do not know who I am anymore. Sam reached out and took her hand. You are Clara, the woman who made it through, the woman who stood up and fought back, the woman that I love. That is who I am to you, but who am I to myself? Clara pulled her hand back, but she did it gently. I have been Thomas's wife for 6 years. Before that, I was my daddy's daughter. I do not know how to just be me. Then you should figure it out. Take all the time in the world. Clara looked at him, and her eyes were full of something he could not quite read. What if figuring it out means I have to leave here? Sam's heart just about stopped cold. Leave? Not for good. It is just. Clara got up and walked over to the window. I have never once been on my own, Sam. I have never had a chance to discover who I am without some man telling me. First it was my father, then it was Thomas, and now it is you. I am not trying to tell you who to be. I know you are not, but you are, without even meaning to. She turned back to him. Every time you try to keep me safe, every time you make a choice for the both of us, I just let you because it is what I am used to. It is easier to let somebody else be in charge. Clara, I am not Thomas. I know you are not. Her voice trembled. That is what makes this so dang hard. You are kind and you are good and you are everything that Thomas was not. But I am still doing the same thing I've always done, just disappearing into someone else's life instead of building one of my own. Sam sat there completely still. He wanted to argue with her, to tell her she was wrong, to say that what they had was different. But he could see the honest truth in her eyes, the worry that she had just traded one cage for another, even if this new one was lined with velvet. What do you need? He asked her quietly. I do not know yet. Maybe a little time, maybe a little space. Clara's eyes started to fill with tears. Maybe just the opportunity to prove to myself that I can stand on my own 2 feet before I choose to stand next to somebody else. And if I wait for you, I am not asking you to wait. I did not say you were asking. Sam stood up and walked over to her. I am telling you I will wait, for as long as it takes. Clara just shook her head. That is not fair to you. Fair has got nothing to do with it. I spent 4 years waiting to feel alive again. Then you came along and reminded me what living was supposed to feel like. He gently held her face in his hands. If you have to go away to find yourself, then you go. But do not you dare expect me to stop loving you just because you are not right here. Clara closed her eyes. The tears spilled over and ran down her cheeks. I do not deserve you. That is funny. I keep thinking the same thing about you. She let out a small laugh through her tears. It was a broken sound, but it was real. I am not leaving you forever, she said. I just need to. I do not know what I need, but I have to find out. Where will you go? There is a hospital down in Denver. They are looking for nurses. I thought that maybe I could. Her voice trailed off. It sounds so stupid when I say it out loud. It does not sound stupid at all. It sounds like you are remembering who you were before you ever met Thomas. Clara looked up at him. You really do not mind? I mind like hell. I want you here with me every single day of the week. Sam kissed her on the forehead. But I want you to be whole more than I want you to be close. If going to Denver is what will make you whole, then that is exactly where you ought to be. And what if I find out I do not need you, that I can be happy all by myself? Then I will be proud that you figured it out. Sam's voice was rough with emotion. And I will spend every day for the rest of my life missing you. Clara kissed him then, a hard and desperate kiss, like she was trying to memorize the very taste of him. I love you, she whispered against his mouth. I know. I am coming back. I will be here. She left the very next morning. Sam stood on the porch and watched her ride away until she was just a tiny dot against the horizon. Then he went back inside and sat down in the quiet kitchen, wondering if he had just made the biggest mistake of his entire life. The weeks that came after that were the hardest Sam had gone through since Emma passed away. He worked himself into the ground every single day, trying to fill up the deep silence that Clara had left in her wake. He fixed fences that did not need fixing. He trained horses that were already busted. He'd do any chore just to keep his hands moving and his thoughts from wandering. Joseph would ride over about once a week to see how he was holding up. Son, you look rode hard and put up wet, Joseph told him one night. I feel a whole lot worse. She's coming home. Might be. Sam just watched the flames dance. Or she might just figure out she's got no need for me. That ain't gonna happen. How can you be so sure? Joseph took a long pause. When I was just a young man, I fell for a girl from another people. My folks said no good would come of it. Her kin said the same. The whole world told us to go our separate ways. So what happened? She went on back to her family. I figured that was the last I'd ever see of her. The lines on Joseph's old face seemed to smooth out. 2 long winters went by, and then she was back. Told me she fought it, but my memory wouldn't leave her be. We had 40 good years together before the Lord called her home. And that's meant to give me some hope. It's meant to show you that a true bond don't break easy. If Clara's path leads back here, she'll find her way. And if it don't, Joseph gave a little shrug, then her path was never meant to be yours. Sam couldn't decide which of those thoughts worried him the most, that were fading with time, and sunrises that felt a little brighter. But she never said a word about when she'd be back. Sam did his best to put it out of his mind. One hot afternoon, Doc Walsh came trotting up to the ranch waving a telegram. This has your name on it. Figured it couldn't wait. Sam ripped the envelope. Arriving Saturday. Stop. I have news. Stop. Clara. That Saturday was just 2 days off. Sam didn't catch a wink of sleep either of those nights. He used every minute to scrub the cabin down, wash his one decent shirt, and try to make the old place look a little more welcoming. Come Saturday morning, he spotted a plume of dust rising from the east. He stepped out on the porch to wait. Clara approached at a slow pace. Something about her was changed. She looked healthier, with a new strength in her, more certain. The dark circles that had lived beneath her eyes had vanished. The constant tightness in her shoulders was finally gone. She swung down from her horse and just stood there, taking him in. "Howdy," she said softly. "Howdy." A long quiet settled over them. Sam couldn't find a single word. He wasn't sure if he was supposed to pull her close or just stand his ground. But Clara made the choice for him, walking right up and putting her arms around his neck. "I sure did miss you," she whispered. "I missed you too." His voice was raspy every single day. She drew back a little to study his face. "You look worn out. You haven't been resting. Neither have you." Clara took both his hands in hers. "Sam, there's something I have to say." His chest tightened up. "Whatever it was, I'm with child." Everything just went still. Sam looked at her, trying to understand what she'd just said. "With child?" "I'm about 4 months along. I had no idea until I was already in Denver." Clara watched his expression, her eyes pleading. "I know this changes everything between us. We never even discussed, is it mine?" The words tumbled out of his mouth before he could catch them. Clara looked like he'd struck her. "Of course it's yours. Thomas and I were never—" She just shook her head. "It's yours, Sam, there is no doubt." Sam dropped onto the porch steps like his strings had been cut. His legs just gave out from under him. A child, his own child. After Emma, after everything was gone, after 4 years of nothing but hollow days, Sam. Clara's voice was full of concern. "Please, say something." He raised his eyes to her, to this woman who stumbled into his world barely clinging to life, who clawed her way back to being whole, and who was now going to have his baby. "I'm going to be a father," he breathed out. "Yes, we are going to have a baby. Yes." Clara knelt down right in front of him. "I realize this ain't how we saw things going. No, we agreed to move slow and easy if you ain't prepared for this." Sam silenced her with a kiss. He kissed her like a man coming up for his first breath of air. Like a man who'd been wandering in the dark and finally found the sun. He didn't stop until they both needed to breathe. "I'm ready," he said, his voice firm, when they finally parted. "Clara, I've been ready from the very second I laid eyes on you." Tears were rolling freely down Clara's cheeks. "You mean it? Truly?" He laid a gentle hand over her belly. "When Emma passed, I figured I'd lost it all. I believed I'd never have another family. And now? Now you do." Clara placed her hand over his. "We do." They just sat there on the steps while the sun made its way up the sky. Two souls who had discovered one another in the ruins, building a new life out of all the broken parts. "Well," Sam finally spoke, "reckon this means you're staying for good." "I reckon it does." "You certain you found everything you were looking for in Denver?" "I found out I can stand on my own 2 feet, that I'm strong enough to decide my own path and make a life for myself." Clara gave him a small smile. "And I also found out that I don't choose you because I have to, but because my life is a whole lot better with you by my side. That's the only thing I ever needed to know." "I know it is. I just had to be sure I meant it with all my heart." Their wedding wasn't a big affair. They had it right there at the ranch with a small group of friends. Doc Walsh was there, Joseph and his kin, and some of the townspeople who stood by them against Thomas. A preacher rode in from Miller's Creek and spoke some words, but Sam didn't hear most of them. He was too caught up in watching Clara. She had on a plain white dress the lady from the boarding house helped her sew. She'd woven wildflowers into her pinned-up hair, and you could just see the little swell of her belly. To Sam, she was the prettiest sight in the whole wide world. "Samuel Bridger, do you take this woman to be your wife?" "I surely do." "And Clara, do you take this man to be your husband?" Clara looked right into his soul. "I do." "Then I'm pleased to pronounce you husband and wife." Sam kissed his new wife as their friends hollered and clapped. Joseph let off a shot from his rifle, which made Clara jump and then laugh. "Well, you're hitched to me for good now," she said when he let her go. Couldn't think of a better predicament. Later that night, when everyone had gone and a peaceful quiet settled on the ranch, they sat on the porch and watched the stars pop out. "I think we should name her Emma," Clara said, out of the blue. Sam felt the air leave his lungs. "You mean the baby? If we have a girl?" Clara reached for his hand. "I know it might cause you some pain, but I'd like our little girl to have her name, so that something good from your past can be carried into our future." Sam couldn't get a word out. His throat felt like it had closed up. "If it's too much for you." "No, I want to." The words came out broken. "There's nothing I'd want more." Clara rested her head on his shoulder. "And if we have a boy, we'll name him for your pa, William." A smile touched Clara's lips. "I think he would have approved of that. He would have wanted to see you happy. That's all any good father ever wants for his child." They sat together without needing words. The day's heat gave way to the cool of the evening. After all the trouble and hurt they had endured, this quiet peace felt like a gift, like a moment they weren't supposed to have. "Sam? Yeah? You ever wonder how things might have turned out if you hadn't come across me that day?" "What do you reckon would have happened?" Sam thought on it for a spell. "I suppose I'd have just gone on as I was, working till I couldn't see straight, sleeping in an empty bed, just passing the time until my own time was up. What about me? You would have perished out there in the dust, or maybe another man would have come along to save you." He turned his head to face her. "But I'm mighty glad it was me. I'm glad I was the one." "Me too." Clara gave him a gentle kiss. "You gave me my life again, Sam. And now you've given me something to live for. You did the same for me. I guess we're square then. We're more than square. We're a family." Clara took his hand and placed it back on her belly. "All three of us are." Sam felt a tiny kick against his palm, a faint little pulse like a hummingbird's wing. It was his daughter, his family, his new beginning. "I love you, Clara Bridger. And I love you, Samuel Bridger." She smiled at him. "Now come on, get me to bed. This wife of yours is exhausted." Sam chuckled and helped her stand. They went into the cabin, shutting the door on all the heartache behind them and opening it to a brand new life. 4 months after that, Emma Rose Bridger came into the world. She had her mother's stormy green eyes and her father's determined chin. She could holler like a bobcat when she was hungry and sleep like a stone when her belly was full. The first time Sam held her, tears just ran down his cheeks. "Well, hello there, little darling," he whispered. "I'm your pa, and I promise I'm going to spend all my days making sure you're safe and cherished and happy." From the bed, Clara watched them, tired but glowing. "She's just perfect. She looks just like you. She's got your scowl." Sam let out a soft laugh. "That's not a scowl. That's just her thinking hard." "If you say so." He carried the baby over to Clara and gently placed Emma in her mother's embrace. The three of them were finally one. "We made it," Clara said in a near whisper. "We made a family." "We made a whole new life," Sam said, and kissed them both. "The finest thing I ever did was stumble across you, Clara. The finest thing I ever did was letting you find me." Outside, the sun was cresting over the Colorado mountains, washing the whole world in shades of gold and rose. The ranch, which had been so quiet for 4 long years, was now alive with brand new noises. The cry of a baby, the lullaby of a mother, the quiet, happy chuckle of a father. The woman who was beaten and abandoned to die had found so much more than just a way to keep breathing. She had found a place to belong. She had found a deep love. She had found her own true self. And the cowboy who rescued her found out that by saving her life, he had truly saved his own. Some tales finish up with a happy ending. This one here found something truer than that. It was about two people shattered by life, who came to understand that being broken is not how the story has to end. This content was carefully researched, developed, and manually edited by our team to deliver meaningful stories with valuable life lessons. Every narrative is crafted to entertain, inspire, and empower our audience. We believe that great stories can change lives, and we are committed to bringing you content that matters. Thank you for being part of our community.